How did this become this? Well, it all begins here. The first riveted garment, made for silver miners in the 1870s. Within 80 years, it would become the symbol of freedom and spawn the birth of cool. Welcome to the 501 series. I'm Den, and this is Den and Denim. In more than 30 episodes, we explore the various pairs of Duck, XX, and 501s in the Levi's vintage clothing catalog recreations. I will call it LVC for short. I've tried to make each video as thorough as possible with fit sections and to the owner of letters in most of the episodes. I've tried to catalog all the variations of distressed jeans that have been released over the 28-year run of the LVC line. Besides learning about the details of each specific year of jeans, these videos start with a history section to more immerse yourself in the time period and learn about what kinds of groups were wearing 501s over the years. I filmed them out of order, but when you watch them chronologically, you will see the evolution of the people who wore 501s from miners to all of us. It's the story of Levi's, San Francisco, California, America, and the 20th century struggles that have shaped the culture we live in today. The California Gold Rush that began in 1848 ended in 1855. So why make pants for miners 17 years after the gold rush? It is true that Mr. Strauss came to California in 1850 to find his fortune and sell fabric, thread, and other dry goods to the tailors who were making and fixing clothes for the mining population. He had a connection for the supplies from his brother's store in New York City, and they would send the items in bulk to San Francisco. Mr. Strauss was a natural salesman and made a nice niche in the era of the 49ers, and he was able to expand his business over the next couple decades. But there were several other gold, silver, and mining rushes that occurred in North America and even around the world in the last quarter of the 19th century. Practically no individual struck it rich digging for gold during the 1848 gold rush at Sutter's Mill. This episode is dedicated to the unnamed miners. Jacob Davis didn't even meet the customer he made the first pair of riveted pants for. His wife was the customer who came to town 3 times for him. One of the differences in how mining worked in the West versus back East was how prospectors could stake a claim. You can call this a scam nowadays because it has so many capitalist plot holes to success, but the idea resonated in the American dream that you could make your own fortune through hard work. The reality was only large investors could reap a profit, and most of it was made by selling unminable land to prospectors. Still, the industry flourished, and hopefuls from around the world kept coming. The first pair of riveted pants were made by Davis in December of 1870 in Reno, Nevada. The miner he made this first pair for most likely worked at the Comstock silver mine. Since the California gold rush of the 49ers, gold fever went around the world, to Australia, South Africa, and back to North America again, each time finding new technological improvements. California's first great contribution was the gold miner's pan. This made alluvial gold panning possible for even the most beginner miner. By the end of the century, the cyanide process of chemically separating silver and gold from the source was taking over, and mining went back to being only for large industries. If we look at the archival Levi's pairs found in mines, we can see the types of mines that Levi's XX waist overalls and 501s were used at. The Nevada Silver Rush, known as the Comstock Lode. Silver was discovered in Nevada in the 1850s. Throughout the 1860s, mining camps expanded throughout the region. The Nevada Silver Rush is what drove Jacob Davis to Reno, and the first pair of riveted pants were probably made for a silver miner. Bodie, California. Gold mining from 1877 to 1882. This is the prime one for Levi's. We found a lot of old Levi's from the 1880s in this town. You can visit, as it is now the prime mining ghost town for tourism. Now, the biggest of any mining towns was Cripple Creek, Colorado. This was the height of the silver rush that overtook the state, and the town boomed to become the Las Vegas of its day with celebrities and attractions. Southern California saw its own mining industry in crystals and geodes. But the most profitable was probably the borax mine of Death Valley. It's in this mine that we find the 1890s borax pair, but I also believe this is where Mike Harris found the 9 rivets pair, dated to 1873 or 1874. Currently the oldest pair of Levi's we have. The Klondike Gold Rush, also known as the Yukon, is probably the most celebrated gold rush on film. It's the inspiration for Chaplin's film. A pair of 201s were found here. What was life like for miners? Mining has always been back-breaking labor. Days were long and arduous. You'd wake up and be gone by dawn to work in your claim. Mining came in 2 basic types: digging in a mountain and panning in a riverbed. It's easy for most to conjure the idea of how hard mining work in a mountain could be. Perhaps you have the image of dwarves or coal miners. Either way, you understand the toil of the work and lack of sunlight. Placer mining had its own tireless attributes. It could take hours to set up and take down the alluvial chutes. You spend the day exposed to the elements. Any exposed skin you had would be victim to the blistering sun, frostbite, or a mosquito's lunch. You constantly move in and out of knee-high waters. There were brief moments of sitting against a rock so you could swish the pan around and let the gold dust fall to the bottom. While sitting up against a rock, you could feel the stitches of your pockets. That's why miners preferred a single rear pocket. If you sat on your left butt cheek, then you were probably right-handed. Southpaws probably gotta rip the pocket off or just deal with it. Besides the back-breaking work, the extreme loneliness would break most. We're talking psychedelic delusions brought on by malnourishment and exhaustion, combined with toxic plants and rotten meat. If you lived in a mining camp like Bodie, then you were close enough to use only a portion of your day to get to a store. But living in a mining camp also brought out the worst in people. Crime would soar. Remember, this is the Wild West we're talking about. Everything was corrupt. But for those who lived further away in an isolated claim, it might take you a few days to get to the big city. The gold rush lured people from all over the world in search of prosperity. More times than not, it turned into unbearable hardships. Wagons headed west would bear the banner, California or bust, while wagons headed back east would have written, busted by God. This is the sad truth that offers riches through luck and hard work, but drains the commoner of their last dime. The lives of the miners were romanticized at the turn of the century by the book The Diary of a 49er, written by Chauncey L. Canfield. Canfield was a child in the gold rush at the time, but most of his details from the time come from his work as a journalist later in the century. It blends fiction with historically accurate accounts. A miner working for a company would have made $4 a day. A miner panning his claim in the river might find $10 to $15 worth of gold dust in a day. It wasn't uncommon that pulling a side gig as a hunter or baker could fetch you more money than you were making as a miner. A miner would spend half his pay in food. He provides a shopping list from 1850 Nevada County, California, and states he paid $2.50 for a pair of duck overalls. Jacob Davis's riveted pants went for $3 in 1872. Also costing the same price at the time, 1850, $2.50, would get you a pick, or a shovel, or 5 pounds of sugar, or 1 pound of tea. A shirt cost $2. A pair of boots were the priciest at $16, which is comparable to what Red Wings cost today. If you look up the men who got rich off the gold rush, then you see a lot of entrepreneurs such as Mr. Strauss, and those who offered services to the miners that you can still find today. I cover their stories in the 1878 Pantaloons episode. But even those who started out as miners really only made their fortunes from additional investments. I tell their tale in the 1889 Spring Bottom episode. And the men who turned to crime after failing as miners in the 1886 Outlaws in Denim. Throughout these episodes, I will talk about the folks who wore the jeans throughout the last century. It all begins with these unnamed miners who first bought Mr. Davis's riveted duck pants and Levi's XX waist overalls. Most were just buying a pair of pants that worked for what they needed. I don't know if any of them thought of themselves as cool or had any idea that they were setting a fashion trend that would define the next century. But if they hadn't done what they did then we wouldn't be doing what we do now. In all of these 501 episodes, I try and get a fit model, someone who's wearing the pair, and we can talk about what you need to do when buying a pair. Now, I don't know your measurements, but from year to year, the 501s vary. Some are loose, some are tight. So I'm going to let you know if you should upsize or downsize, or get your true size, or if it's versatile, or some of them I just don't know. And I don't have the fit section. Luckily I do for this one. I'm judging the fit based on the 2023 release. I'm usually a size 31. For these duck pants I'm wearing size 32. I'm glad I got the 32 waist. It fits the waist wonderfully. They sit about an inch above the waist, and with a tub soak they would fit perfectly. Honestly, they don't ride as high as I expected they would. I would recommend an upsize when getting these. There isn't much bagginess, and what there is will shrink in the tub. You could probably wear 2 full sizes above, given that it has a cinch. Sizing for the shirt, I'm wearing a shrunken medium. I'm between medium and small in jackets and shirts. I can wear a small, but it is tight. I recommend upsizing if you are between sizes for the shirt or blouse. As far as wearing this, I doubt I'll ever go full duck suit anywhere. I've had the duck shirt for the last couple years, and that's an item that I really love the way it looks with a blue pair of jeans, and that's why I got it. But now having the pants, I decided to match that with my blue Canberra shirt, and wow, that just pops immediately. The richness of both of these colors just really paints a wonderful picture. Definitely an outfit I'd like to have a portrait of. Some quick duck facts. Fact: riveted duck pants are not the first riveted garment. The first riveted clothing item was a pair of army shoes. This is what delayed the patent by 6 months. Otherwise, we'd be celebrating the sesquicentennial last November. The first jeans and duck pants were made of cotton, not hemp. This is an error penned by Jack Hare in his book. However, Levi's didn't dispel this rumor until 2017, when they finally did start making hemp fiber clothing. Not yet for 501s. Duck shrinks, but it won't distress or soften. Duck is a cotton weave like denim and Canberra, but has no twill. Instead of diagonal stitches, it is like a grid. Essentially, it is reversible. We currently don't have the actual 1872 letter Davis wrote to Mr. Strauss. The only source we have comes from the Davis family. The details for Levi's pants have changed over the years. From the 1870s all the way until the 1940s is what I like to call the historic era. You will see things like suspender buttons, yoke and cinch waist fasteners, and the crotch rivet, because no one wants a blowout down there. The duck products are made of canvas duck. There's no selvage line to speak of, so go ahead and hem them, or roll them up until you grow into them. There's a black thread running along the side leg. And usually I would say that black and brown don't match, but this particular shade of brown, you could match a black t-shirt with it or wear the duck shirt with a black pair of jeans, and it would sparkle. Most of the duck items come with sewn-on buttons and patent date rivets. The 2023 release pants have unbranded buttons, unbranded rivets, and no arcuate. Plus the pre-1875 patch. These details also mimic the 1873 150th anniversary first blue jean. The 2023 duck pants don't have the gusset. That is something special for the 150th anniversary first blue jeans. Other cool details on the 2023 duck pants are the duck pocket bags and the gasket under the backside of the rivets. Here it is versus the original. The first blue jean doesn't have this gasket. None of the jeans do. The cinch on all the 2023 release items for the 1870s are nice, solid cinches that you can poke and use. They aren't as good as the 1890s one, but so far are the next best cinch that I have seen in the LVC line. The jumper pullover shirt has 2 pockets with the arcuate on them. The vest has 3 pockets, only the small chest pocket has the arcuate. I think it's funny that the jumper shirt has this arc on the back that predates the arcuate and the batwing. But it has the same silhouette as half of the batwing. Jacob Davis made the first pair of riveted pants in December of 1870. He writes his famous letter to Mr. Strauss on July 25, 1872. We believe the first pair was made in white duck, which had an unbleached natural look. But before collaborating with Mr. Strauss, Davis had made pairs in brown duck and denim as well. No examples of the Davis riveted pants exist. The only items we know exist are Levi's items after the 1873 patent date. One such pair of brown duck pants made in the Battery Street factory in 1874 stayed stashed away for 90 years. Then it was gifted to the Smithsonian by the Haas family in the 1960s. The Smithsonian houses America's most prized collectibles: the Hope Diamond, FDR's Fireside Chats microphone, Rocky's boxing gloves, and the oldest pristine Levi's item. Levi's historian Tracy Panic visited the Smithsonian in 2022 to view the pair and made some interesting discoveries that helped recreate more historically accurate duck pants for the 2023 catalog. While we knew there were no rivets on the cinch and the crotch had a gusset, we now know that there is an earlier version of the leather patch. Unfortunately, the duck pants are not on display at the Smithsonian. There's some interesting photographs of them. I do believe there are 2 or 3 pairs of 1870 duck pants at the Smithsonian. I based this on the pictures in the archives versus the video we see with Tracy. For years, only this neon orange bell-bottoms picture was available. I've also found these high-quality museum cataloged photos. The material looks very brown. I'm surprised they didn't write the information from the patch in the description when entering it into the system decades ago. Then there's the exhibit photo of it draped over a chair. Noticing the sizing based on their archives, we see 14 by 27. Now this isn't a miniature, it could just be a different measuring system. 19th century tailors were working on different units, possibly. The one Tracy is looking at has a size 24 by 32. That's a little more accurate, but still very small in the waist. Between Tracy Panic's Smithsonian visit and Mike Harris's discovery of the 9 rivets jeans, the 2023 duck pants and the first blue jeans are the most historical of the first details of any recreations. There's a small handful of duck items made by the Levi's vintage clothing collection in its 25-year run. The pants? This is, of course, a recreation of the first riveted item made by Jacob Davis. Sometimes they are called the 1870, sometimes 1873. The final release called them the 1870s. They have been released in a tan orange, brown. The 2023 release calls the color Naples Brown. I do wish they had made blanket-lined duck pants or denim. Here's an historic fragment of blanket-lined duck circa 1873. Now the other pair of pants LVC made in duck were a pair of 1901. The 1901 distressed. This pair has shank buttons and a 2-horse patch, and are given the lot number 582. Historically, the 582 was for extra large sizes. The 581 was the lot number assigned to duck pants after 1890. Pre-1890, you would have simply ordered riveted waist overalls in a 10-ounce duck fabric. For coats, they've made a triple pleat blouse. This is not a historic item, it's an imagined recreation, but still one of the most badass creations LVC has made. There's a hunter's coat. I think it's made for hunters because it has leather straps that keep the vermin in your pockets. They did make a duck vest a couple times. Vests were something very commonly worn by miners. The duck vest has 2 large pockets and 1 small chest pocket, with the arcuate on the small chest pocket. In the Levi's vault, there is a historically only item that exists called the Hunter's Vest. It has bullet pockets and 50 rivets. You know, with that much metal, it would be bulletproof too. It's a great example of seeing this unbleached, natural white duck, the type of fabric that Mr. Davis would have stitched his first pair of pants with. For the shirt, there's the miner's pullover. I got one of these. It is nice. It's very stiff and warming. I think it looks great, but it's rough against your bare skin. LVC did make a gift item as a duck apron, which duck aprons make so much sense. It's a water-repellent material, and it just looks gorgeous. Almost mimics leather. There are 2 bags that were made in duck. Big duck bag, only 30 of those were made. And then there is a box bag, more like a tote. In a pair of 1915 501s, they have pocket covers in the rear made from duck. If you want a pair of modern duck pants, then there are a few companies making them. If you want Levi's modern equivalent for 2023, then that would be the Stay Loose Carpenter pants. I read the patent in the 1873 episode, along with the 1872 letter with Davis's spelling mistakes and accent. Now the duck pants don't come with a letter, so I'm going to read a modern translation of the July 1872 letter from Davis to Strauss, and then I got a special treat. Mr. Levi Strauss & Company. Gents, enclosed, please find the check for $350. Please credit the balance to my account and write me how much there is left in my credit. Also, deduct $4 for the plush and thread which I have sent back. The reason I am sending you so much money is because I have no use for it here, and you can pay me interest as well as the bank. I also send you by express 2 pieces of overalls. As you will see, 1 blue and 1 made of 10-ounce duck, which I have bought a great many pieces from you and have turned them into these pence. Such is the sample. The secret of these pants is the rivets that I put on those pockets, and I found the demand so large that I cannot make them fast enough. I charge for the duck $3 and the blue $2.50 a pair. My neighbors are getting jealous of this success, and unless I secure it by patent papers, it will soon become a popular thing and everybody will make them and there will be no money in it. Therefore, gentlemen, I wish to make you a proposition that you should take out the letters for a patent in my name, as I am the inventor of it, the expense of which will be about $68. All complete, and for these $68 I will give you half of the right to sell such riveted clothing. According to the patent, for all the Pacific states and territories, the balance of the United States, and the Pacific coast I reserve for myself. The investments for you is but a trifle compared to the improvement in the overall coarse clothing. I use it in blanket clothing as well as coats, vests, and pants. You will find it a very sellable article at a much advanced rate. Should you decline to spend the amount required for the patent papers, please write to me and I will take them out on my own expense. Under all circumstances, please don't show the pants to anybody. I have already obtained through Dewey & Company of the Scientific Press 2 patents and 1 was rejected. But I am so situated with a large family that I cannot do anything with it at present. Therefore, as I have said, if you wish to take out the papers, please go to Dewey & Company of the Scientific Press and have the papers made out in my name for 17 years. They will send them up to me for signature. Please answer these as soon as possible. This looks like a trifle hardly worth speaking of, but nevertheless, I know you can make pants the way I do. You can sell duck pants such as the sample at $30 per dozen, and they will readily retail for $3 a pair. Excuse this long letter, as I could not describe particulars in a short space. I have nothing more at present. I remain yours truly, J.W. Davis. Now for a special treat. I've got the To the Owner of letter for the 150th anniversary 1873 XX waist overalls, first blue jeans. To the owner of this pair of Levi's waist overalls. The year is 1873. The West Coast is a patchwork of farms, ranches, and gold mines, out in the middle of the land that stretches for miles. Miners, railroad mechanics, and engineers wear denim work pants because they're so hardy, except at stress points like the pockets and the base of the button fly. In San Francisco, Levi Strauss & Company and Jacob Davis receive a patent, number 139121, for an improvement in fastening pocket openings, and the riveted blue jean is born. These waist overalls become the workwear of choice for the hard-working men mining for gold and building railroads, and the equally hard-working men being outlaws. The first intercontinental railroad zigzags across the states, and a rugged hodgepodge Levi's-clad band of outcasts and entrepreneurs work side by side, building the future. Some of these episodes will have a chapter called Film Recommendations. And these are movies I've selected that either feature Levi's prominently in them, or they set the tone for the historical era. I give you my best word on whether these films are worth watching or not. I've got 4 recommendations for today. The first, Charlie Chaplin's Gold Rush. Taking place in the Klondike, Yukon Gold Rush. It's a fine film if you've got the patience. I really like to push the classics on here. There's a good copy on YouTube. Next, All Gold Canyon. Based on a short story by Jack London. It's a short film starring Tom Waits. Part of the Coen Brothers' Ballad of Buster Scruggs film. And it's about the best miner's portrayal on screen I've seen. He ain't wearing duck or denim, but I do like them threads. With gorgeous scenery and minimal dialogue, it requires you to view the film with your eyes and harken back to the time. But to see how San Francisco coalesced as a city made up of all sorts of folks building communities, then check out The Frisco Kid. Gene Wilder giving a powerful dramatic performance.
He does not!
While Harrison Ford goes for the chuckles.
You should have seen.
I think it is great at showing how there were many communities who were setting up San Francisco as their home after the gold rush. This could very well be the story of Mr. Strauss's rabbi on his way to San Francisco. It's fun to watch, it's pretty to look at, and it makes you feel something. But I'd really like to tell you about my favorite documentary. I've fallen asleep 1,000 nights listening to this. It's a documentary about metals. Out of the Fiery Furnace. 7 episodes exploring human history through the metals we've sought after. The first 4 episodes really lay down the foundation for the 501 story. Episode 1, Copper. Copper is the first metal that took us out of the Stone Age. And it's the metal Jacob Davis chose to use when crafting his riveted garments. Episode 2 is about the iron will of man, advancing to a new age, forging the hardest metal out of the dust of a rock. Episode 3 is the search for gold. Gold fever around the world, which helped inspire the California Gold Rush, and in turn, everything up to this episode. Episode 4 of Out of the Fiery Furnace is all about the Industrial Revolution and how the machine age advanced us, and that is where the 501 story begins. But as far as Out of the Fiery Furnace, the entire thing is great to watch. The narration is smooth and calming. Visually, it's wonderful, but currently lo-fi if you watch it on YouTube. A link in description. You know, this pair just really completes my collection. Sure, I'll still hunt down some items here or there, but I have what I need to tell the full 501 story, from duck pants all the way to 1984s. I really like the look of the duck pants. I love it with the color blends, with the canvas shirt, and the fit isn't too bad. Like a nice pair of trousers, just very thick. I might get some wearing out of them, but for most who buy this piece, it's all about the collection. When you look at the 501 timeline, you start with the duck, and it's so radically different from all the blue denim. And this is where it all begins, and the fans know it. With the news that LVC is ending, the spring 2023 release of the duck pants is a nice way to say goodbye. I got mine imported from Japan, and as of June, I don't know if they will be released worldwide. As you venture into the LVC line, then you start to find out where you fit into the historical time points. I really fell in love with the historical era, and the duck is one of those unique items from that time period. I think if you really love the classic era from the 40s, 50s, 60s, then you don't need to bother with the duck items. But I would recommend trying on something with a cinch or suspender buttons just once. But for those people who aren't into the historic stuff, it's just an overpriced costume crap. But if you are into the historical aspect of Levi's, then a duck item is the coolest thing ever and probably essential to your collection. I hope you enjoyed the 501 series. The 1873 first blue jean is up next. The numbering system of 501 doesn't really begin until 1890. And we go all the way up until 1984. Plus there's bonus episodes like 201, 701s, 555Zs, and 505s are coming. The Denim Jacket series is complete in 6 episodes already. Subscribing is a big way to help the channel. I'd like to thank all my viewers and especially my Patreon members. Your Patreon donations go directly into helping the channel improve the quality technically. See bonus episodes and early commercial-free releases, plus more. Patreon, Den and Denim. I'm Den, thanks for watching, and as always, love your jeans.